Welcome back, ankle pickers. As promised, we have the interview that is always amazing. Tony Gravely is in the house. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Incredible. Better now, and especially after that short hook that you just finished Johnny Munoz Jr. with. We now have, I have watch parties when you're on a card. We all get so hyped to watch it. So this one didn't last long, but man, did it get loud. Holy smoke. So I guess the first thing just out the gate is, we've talked to you before about how the foundation of wrestling is so important, but this time, holy smokes, there's power in those hands. That short hook was incredible. Is that something you thought was going to be open, or did you just kind of roll with it?
Yeah, I mean, I figured like, I would want to strike a little more, just because, I feel like that's an advantage I had, over top of him, as well as the wrestling. But I just wanted to kind of mix everything up. And the first little bit was me kind of gauging and kind of like tracking him down kind of. And, I wanted to start with low kicks and then body kicks, but the range was off a little bit. Backed him against the cage through the first exchange of punches, and the very last punch just, it was a combination of me just committing to a combination, and a combination of him, kind of being cornered and almost being forced to take a bad shot in a way. And then it resulted in me winning, which, is great.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And was that uppercut, was that kind of the end of the combination you were mentioning, or kind of just in the middle you caught him?
Yeah, it was actually the last punch I threw. And it just, in the past, I kind of had issues with, I would throw like one or two punches at a time. And lately it's just been more combinations, which is good because, you notice a lot of the fights that you see, people may throw like 3 or 4 punches. They may land 2 or 1, but the one's all they need. But the more you throw, the more opportunities you have to hurt the person. You also have opportunities to get hit as well. But, a lot of times when you just fully commit, then it's whoever commit first is going to be the most successful.
Talk to us a little bit more about that punch. I mean, so it lands. Did you know right away that you hurt him bad? Obviously, you followed him to the ground and finished the fight as instinctively and as much as you trained. But did you know when that landed that his lights were out?
Yeah, I felt, it's one of those things where when you brace for like a collision in a way, like it's kind of how wrestling and shooting and throwing punches, when two people are coming together, you kind of almost brace a little bit for a collision. And the collision happened, but there was no more resistance, it just like collapsed. And I knew it, I felt it hit. And then I felt him go limp, and I knew that it was, it was that it hit him, and that he was, ready to get out of there.
Awesome. And you were visibly hyped up after that. I mean, jumping around, shouting. You told everyone. Can you talk a little bit about, were you saying that it was going to be a first round finish? Were you just kind of seeing all the analysts talking about his jiu-jitsu and knowing that you were just levels ahead on the feet? Or tell us about that.
It was actually like a little bit of both. And I was telling my wife, I feel so embarrassed because I completely lost it, going into the fight. I was telling her, I was like, man, I was the most calm I'd ever been. It was like, it was another sparring day. I was telling myself, don't load up on punches. You don't need it, throw really hard, just touch them, and I was so calm. I was so in the moment. And I tell her and tell people all the time, like, and you may have heard before, but once the fight happens, it's almost like you disconnect from your body. Your mind kind of like levitates over, and it's almost like you're spectating in a way, because your body's just doing, it's naturally what it's, muscle memory is doing. And sometimes your mind's not in there, but this time it was like everything was in there. It was like perfect. And I was telling her, like, I was so composed. And the second it was over, it's like I couldn't control myself. It was crazy. It was like, I tell her, it was like, imagine the most excited you ever got and just put it times 10, and you got to get rid of that energy right now. Like that's what it feels like. It feels weird,
Yeah, I mean, it looked like, obviously you said there was a feeling out process for that first minute, but it almost looked like the adrenaline dump came after the finish.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, or extra adrenaline and then it don't. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wild. And you mentioned your wife and especially the anniversary. Congratulations again. But so I noticed that she was in your corner, and I've always wondered, is that like, does she actually give call outs during the fight, or is it more like there for just emotional support? Does she talk to you in between rounds? Is there a strategic value to that?
It's more for just emotional support. It's one of those things where we spend so much time together, all the time. She's my best friend. So it's like when we get to do this, it's almost like in a way like a family thing. But but for me, it's just good to have her there. It feels good. It feels comfortable in the locker room. She'll tell you otherwise because she's like, her anxiety, she's really worked up. She's like worried the night before, stuff like that. So, my job is to just stay calm and reassure that I'm going to win. And, because that's all I can do. Right. And then go out there and try my best to make it happen. So, but I enjoy it. I think it's kind of a unique thing. It seems like it almost got like popular, but I feel like we were still one of the first, because she's been cornering me I've had 30 professional fights now, and over 20 of those for sure. She's cornered me.
Wow. Yeah. I just know that like there are a couple other people that like notably I'm like, oh yeah, they have their significant other in their corner. And it's interesting because each corner kind of uses it in their own unique way. Like some actually give calls, like Gina Manzani's one that comes to mind. And then others are there just for, like we said, that emotional support. So it's interesting to see the dynamic, but man, so more fights than not, she's been in your corner. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
Definitely. So it's pretty cool. It's cool. It's like I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's really cool just to have her like, along the way, and she sees everything and she gets to experience all the stuff. Even though we're both the same. We really both don't like attention, but I'm in a sport where like, there has to be a certain amount of attention,
Right.
Not a team sport.
But
So Tony, she's missed a few fights. Like, what was the reason for not being in some of those?
There were some fights where either she didn't corner me because I think the very first time she cornered me, it started. I always fought out of town. It was always up north somewhere, like kind of far away from where I live. So, if my parents didn't come, then what would she do? So if my parents couldn't make it, I think there was one time they like couldn't make it, and we were like, "What? Could she just corner me? Like, do you need any kind of special, anything special?" It was like, "No, you just fill up applications," and we were like, "Okay, well, it kind of happened once, and then it just kept happening, and then it just unless like there was an event where it was like close to where we lived, and a lot of people could come, and she could like be in the crowd with." Like my parents or my cousins and stuff like that, or her friends, that would be one of the reasons why she wouldn't have cornered.
Yeah. Has she ever cornered you when it's like a massive sellout? I know so many fights are just in the Apex now these days. And I'm trying to think, has there ever been a massive card where she cornered you? Was the most recent one? I don't even remember.
I would say, I guess the UFC 270 was the biggest.
70.
And then my debut was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it was a pretty big turnout. Like it was a lot of people. Wasn't as many people as I don't think it's as many people as California, but it was a good amount. So those are really the only two times I've ever fought in not fought in the Apex as being signed to the UFC.
Well, a lot more is coming because it's becoming more and more of a draw. I mean, we were talking even pre-show or after your win. It's like we're ready for ranked. I mean, you're looking incredible. Do you have someone on your mind, or do you? I know at the end of the fight you were so jazzed that you didn't have anything for Paul, but we were wondering. I mean, is there someone on the tip of your tongue?
Yeah, like honestly, it really doesn't matter that much, but the only reason why I keep bringing up this one guy, I keep bringing this guy named Chris Gutierrez, is only because on the Contender Series, like right after my Contender Series fight, I don't know how it stumbled upon it. He had mentioned wanting to fight me, so I was like, okay, I'm saying yes, then yes, I would, yeah, so I don't know how much of a factor that really plays in matchmaking. They may matchmake whatever they want regardless, so But that's the name. And his teammate named Jonathan Martinez. They're both actually really good fighters. So it's not like I'm trying to call out somebody that's an easy fight. These guys are tough. They're good strikers. And I would like to, test my striking and test my fighting in general, everything. I want to fight where I can put it all together so I can really show like how much better I've gotten. So, hopefully that happens, sometime soon. And we can get the ball rolling again.
Yeah, that's actually that's an awesome call out, honestly. Like even just looking at it, he's undefeated in the UFC. You're on an absolute tear. That would be a good fight. And I'd love to see the stand up. That short hook, I'm still jazzed about it.
Definitely. Yeah. Those guys you just got to check a leg kicker too. But going back to the emotions
you definitely know that.
Right.
I've seen enough. They both fight like that. So, which would be good. It's different, like almost challenges to overcome throughout, as you fight different fighters. Everybody's different. So it would be like a new challenge. Would he leg kick me because I could take him down? That may be like, maybe he doesn't want a third kick. So right. You never know.
That's just such a great, sorry, Dan, that's just such a great segue for something I really wanted to ask. And that's just, so your career has so far in the UFC has been incredible coming off the Contender Series. And there's been the Brett Johns fight, your first fight in the UFC till this, all the way to this Johnny Munoz fight. I've seen just some crazy improvements. What's like how do you describe all the experience in the octagon? Like you've had 6 fights now. So many. And every one over and over, I just see more and more improvement. Is there anything like, how would you describe, I don't even know really how to get this across. It's just, how would you describe the storyline so far of you being in the UFC? Like, what's the experience like?
It's crazy. And it's even more crazy now that like I get to like train an American Top Team and like be amongst these people that, we've probably talked about this before, but just still being amongst people that you used to look up to and you still look up to, you probably admire more now because you see, how cool of a person they are on top of how good of a fighter they are. So now you are even more close to this person, but just seeing people like that, in the gym and getting to experience that is crazy in itself, even if I wasn't in the UFC, but, being in the UFC, like every now and then I'll be walking around and I'll say to my wife, I'll be like, it's crazy. Like that I'm in the UFC, like I'm still at a point where it's like, and I hope I never lose this, that kind of excitement to, just like almost like disbelief of it. I feel like, that helps me kind of stay hungry in a way and also never be complacent. Cause I know that, at any moment, I could, God forbid, I'd lose 2 fights in a row, look really bad. I could get, they could get rid of me, so, I understand that it's not, just an easy task to stay in the UFC. So I'm just trying to learn as much as I can, be a sponge and just keep growing.
Yeah, and we've seen it. And one more thing, just again, sorry, Dan, these keep segueing. The starstruckness. So Dan and I flew out to PFL, and we've gotten the opportunity to cover that a couple of times. And I got to talk to Mike Brown right before Kayla Harrison, and I name dropped you, and I was like, yeah, Tony, he's good. And he had nothing but amazing things to say, and it was just I was starstruck to see him, and it's like I know talking to you, I'm always just like I get a little butterflies, but it's crazy. ATT's awesome. Mike Brown was great. Your career, following your career has been great, but yeah, I name dropped you to Mike Brown. So
that's awesome. Mike's a cool guy. He's a really good coach. He's a very open-minded coach too, which is good because, he'll take something that somebody's good at and we'll be drilling and he'll let them show it. Like he doesn't care to let somebody else to admit that like somebody else is better at a certain thing, So it's really cool that you learn a lot more because, the it's already so diverse in the gym, and to have a coach kind of like pick these diversities, some different things and help each people grow, is really cool.
Yeah. Going back a little to the emotions pre-fight. I know you mentioned a couple of times that you were going to kill him and you were this close to doing it. I guess how much did the previous matchup, the King of the Cage championship in 2019, factor into your attitude going into this fight? And I guess how different was it preparing for him the second time?
I mean, honestly, wasn't really much of any leading into it, because you're that long ago. It's almost like a completely different person for most cases, as long as people are training and progressing. You could, because me 3 years ago is completely different from me now too. So you're kind of it's for a new person, and all the I guess the animosity I had nothing to do with like him personally. Really, it was just, I don't know what it's been. And I don't know if it's because my last fight was more grappling. I just could not wait to hit somebody. And I just wanted to hit him, and I feel like, in a way, I'm absolutely glad that it, didn't take long, but in a way I wanted to do a little bit more of it, and I had so much more to give. And it, like I said, just had to leave. It had to leave my body.
Crazy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was one of the most hyped I've ever seen you. It was awesome to watch from a spectating standpoint too, to see that it was so raw. It was awesome.
And then was there anyone, I mean, you've talked really greatly about American Top Team and just the amount of personalities and different styles of fighters that you get to train with there. I know you called out a couple of teammates, but I guess who really emulated Munoz style the best for you, and what was able to give you those reads?
I think the best, the person that I sparred with the most, this fight and the last fight, actually, because they were kind of similar in a way, as far as being good at certain submissions. But his name's Victor Diaz, and he actually he could be in the UFC right now, and he could be ranked as he's a flyweight. He's a really big flyweight, and he's really strong for a flyweight, which is crazy because he's much bigger than me, and I'm a bantamweight. But he's one of those guys, Victor Diaz. He's actually the Titan FC flyweight champion right now. Oh, wow. And he is good. He's really good. He's strong. He's got really good jiu-jitsu. His striking's good. So he definitely gives me some of my toughest rounds. So the last camp, for the fight, I sparred a lot with him, and this was the same way. And he's good. I think for sure he could be in the UFC right now and be ranked, but hopefully he gets his opportunity soon. I know it'll happen eventually, though.
It's an interesting point you said. You mentioned the similarities between the Simon preparation and the Munoz preparation. Were you surprised that, I guess, the general public or Vegas or whoever thought that Munoz was going to be a tougher matchup for you than Simon, and at least in terms of the odds?
Yeah, I honestly, with some people, I don't know how they go about making odds, but, and I know you can't do MMA math and you can't look at paper and anything work, I understand that, but a lot of people don't understand that. But I don't understand it. It's almost like people see that I've been submitted in the past, but they don't take into consideration that was years. That was before I got the opportunity to train an American Top Team and get really good grapplers that are really good at specific things. And, so they see those submissions and they see someone that has a lot of submissions. They just assume that, oh, this guy's going to get submitted, but they don't realize that's a completely different version of me that, that was before, I had years of progression. So I think people see that, and I think that's how they get, they formulate theirs. But, honestly, man, I know I fought a lot of tough people, so I don't understand how people don't take that into consideration too. The losses that I have, the wins that I have are all experienced fighters. And, I don't think he has really ran into anyone super experienced yet, except for we have a common opponent. But other than that, I think that was his first real test,
Well, it worked well for us because we have this little segment here called Ankle Lock, and we pick our number one bet of the evening. And guess what? It was you at the luscious line. So not only did you make us money, but a lot of our listeners as well.
That's awesome.
Tony, thank you so much, as always, for coming on and chatting it up with us and being so gracious with your time. It's always a blast to see you. Everyone, go follow Tony Gravely everywhere you can. Twitter is a big one. Instagram is always good and a fun thing to watch too. And then we are going to do a merch drop, and we'll look to give away some followers. So let Tony know we sent you, and it'll be a fun time. Tony, anything else?
No, I mean, that's it. I appreciate you guys having me back on. It's good to talk to you guys again.
Always.
Of course. It was our honor, and it's always great after a great win too. So, all right.